Hi, everybody. Welcome to our Meet the Mentor. We have me, Jaime Spencer at MJOT, and I'm so excited to be here with my pal Robyn tonight. We are going to just wait a few minutes to let people come on. How was your day, Robyn?
My day, crazy. How about you? I work with kids. It's crazy.
Mine was actually quite productive, so I was
Good.
happy about that. I know one of my bosses actually asked me. I guess I've been like really talking a lot about the horrific furniture at school, like just the how the kids aren't sized properly and all the things. And she was like, "I'm doing a building visit at this other building. Will you come?" And I kind of want to see it through your eyes. And I was like, "Yeah." So of course, like I'm geeking out and I have my tape measure and I'm like, look, these are 14-inch chairs. They should be 12-inch chairs. There's all this space. And I I I, I was kind of like, am I going too much? Like, is this too much? And she was like, this is mind boggling. And I was like, oh, good.
That's so
So
cool.
are we writing a grant to get some more furniture or what?
Absolutely.
Of course, I got to push in the buttons, but anyway, I was very
Mhm.
that was my win of the day, so I was
That's a big
happy.
win.
I
That's a
always
big
I always love when I can like get somebody's interest and their attention and make them realize how important something is, you know?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I had a big win of the day. Even though it was a crazy day, I had a big win. I was actually asked by a colleague a couple of days ago. She owns a speech clinic, but she has an OT that works for her, and they are really struggling with a child. And she asked me a couple of days ago if I would come into her clinic and just kind of consult to see is not to critique the therapist by any stretch, but to see if there's anything that they're missing, anything that
Right.
they're that they just haven't quite unlocked in order to help support this child. And I did it this morning. I went and I ended up being at the clinic for like 2.5 hours, which was kind of what caused the crazy day, but it was so worth it as well, because we definitely got to some areas where, while therapy is, I mean, his therapists are phenomenal, but we definitely got to some areas where we were like, oh, I wonder if we need to tap into this more or tap into that more. And I was able to speak with the mom, and we're able to maybe add some things into his sensory diet and his regimen and his day. And I'm actually going to start consulting with the family in addition to the therapist that they're already seeing, just to try to add some layers of support for him. So that was an awesome win.
That
I loved being called in by somebody else in order to support and just put our heads together.
Mhm.
It wasn't an I know more than you situation. It was
Right.
a let's have a meeting of the minds here, and
Mhm.
let's see what we can all figure out together. So that was actually super fun.
I love that too.
Yeah.
And especially when, everybody has a different skill set or a different background where they have more knowledge, and to put your minds together is just
Oh,
awesome.
that collaborative approach is the only way, but isn't always something that people are able to do based on time and the type of setting that they work in.
Yeah,
So that was really cool that I had some time to do that, and I was just grateful that they asked me.
that's awesome.
Yeah.
So, we're here today. We're talking about mentorship. And I've just been kind of floored by the response that people are having about the need for mentorship. So, I started off like, and I do this sometimes, and I'm like, okay, don't get mad. Let's find a solution. But I I busted into somebody's room the other day and they were like having a meeting, and I just was like, "Oh, I'm so sorry." And they were like, "Oh, no problem. We're just having our mentoring session." And I sometimes I feel like I have like a little bit of a chip on my shoulder because I'm like, "Well, OTs don't have that." Like, why don't we have that? That's not fair. Like a little kid. But I remember when I first started as a school-based OT, first of all, I didn't want to be a school-based OT. I went to school injures and all eyes and all mindset about neuro. And in my school based class, I was kind of like, yeah, I just got to pass, like I don't want to do this. I didn't do my field work in peds. So when I ended up getting out into the field and there were really no jobs in the hospitals because there was like law changes with Medicare, Medicaid, and ended up getting a job in the schools, and I immediately like loved it, even though I didn't think I would, but I had no help. And it was really like a very anxious, overwhelming time. I was working for a contract agency. I was in, I want to say like 11 different buildings
Mhm.
in 1 week. So it was like 6 districts, 11 buildings all over Long Island. Like, just, I was in my car by myself and I had to like figure out what to do with these kids. And I just felt, and I used this word the other day and somebody like got offended, but I felt like a fake or like an imposter. Like, I don't know what I'm doing. And I hated that feeling because I'm kind of not, I'm like a, I'm like a type A person. Like, I need to figure out how to do this and how to do it well. And you're in it because you want to help people, you want to help children. And I was, I hate to age myself right now, but I will. I'm approaching my 50s. And when I was in college, there was no internet, or it was like just coming out. It was like just coming out. We were like learning about the World Wide Web, There was
Dial
no
up.
Pinterest, there was no Instagram, there was no emails really. It was like I literally would come home and like look in my textbook for ideas and I mean, I'm sure it only made me a better therapist in the long run, but it was really stressful.
We
And
had to create our own mentor, our own, find them. We had to collaborate with somebody and maybe not ask for mentorship because that might not have been a possibility, but maybe colleagues, colleague groups where we could like put our heads together, where now that's still a great plan, but we have the internet, we have Facebook, we have options for collaborative approaches, but still
yeah.
not that direct mentorship. Would you agree with that?
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
I ended up getting very lucky because I think the second year, or maybe one building that I was in the first year, I can't exactly remember, but there was a more in my mind back then. She was like almost ready to retire, but not at all. She was probably in her 40s, but when you're 23 or 4, I was like, oh, she's like much older. But she was the sweetest, nicest, and such a great OT. And she really helped me and answered my questions, but only because she was being a nice person, not because the programs set it up that way and that she was getting paid to do this. Like, that's how the teachers have it, and the speech therapists and the social workers and the psychologists. And it's just really, it's disheartening at times that we don't have that set up. But on the other hand, so many OTs have been reaching out to me and been like, where can I get a mentor? Like, they want the information because they want to be the best OT they can be, which of course OTs are the
Well,
best. So
well, of course we are. And OTs, we're intellectuals. We're intellectuals, right? We're intelligent. We're generally somewhat book smart. We dove into anatomy and physiology and kinesiology and all of this stuff, and we did okay. We did well enough to become OTs, right? However, nobody in that time necessarily taught us what to do in the situation. We know our theory, we know our frames of references, we know that we're pulling from those things, but then you get a human in front of you, and they're just that, they're a human, and they come with their own sets of things that are in addition to the frames of reference and the injury or the disability or what have you. And nobody really teaches us how to handle that, and to still take a scientific approach, because we are expected to be scientists. We are expected to have a procedure and to ask questions, whether we're asking questions of them or whether we're asking questions in our head. We are always asking questions so that we can come to the next answer. And again, so it's that combination of, how do I be there for this person, this child in our case that's in front of me? How do I pull from my scientific method? But then how do I also use the creative side of myself and combine it all in order to make a treatment session? And that's not
and
always an easy thing.
and the empathetic and the compassionate side of establishing a rapport and having a relationship with this little love, and it's a lot. So one of the
Yes.
things that this one, I think one of the reasons why it kind of disturbed me was I did a research study a few years back, and we're hoping to have it published soon. And it was on the current trends in school-based OT in New York, specific to New York, because every state ed department like categorizes things differently. So everything has to be done on a state by state basis. But one of the things that we asked about was this topic, like, because we wanted to showcase that OTs are sometimes being mentored by, a psychologist or a speech therapist. Actually, we just have a comment right here. Someone saying, I have a speech therapist as a mentor, like unreal. And while that speech therapist probably can help you with IEPs and other things like that, it's like they're not an OT. So they're, they're not showing us what exactly we need to do as an OT. And it's hard. And because OTs, and here I get on my soapbox again, because OTs are not allowed to be leaders in most school districts, then they're not the ones that are there mentoring. The leaders who are doing the observations and the mentorships and all those other things aren't OTs. So it's kind of like this around hamster wheel circle. But when I did my research, we had a large response, like over 700 people responded to the survey within New York. So of those people, the people that answered that question, a lot of them, 44% of the school-based OTs that answered the survey, like, admitted that they've considered leaving school-based OT. Like, and not like, oh, I don't want to be an OT anymore. It was just like, have you considered leaving the school setting? And 44% of them said yes. So then we kind of took it a little further and we were like, okay, what are your top 3 reasons why are you considering it? And you have no idea. Is it money? Is it the schedule? Is it retirement and all this other stuff? But 11.5 of them, 11.5% of that group said that not having a mentor is one of the reasons why they're kind of considering leaving. Like, they don't feel like they're supported. They don't have anyone to ask the questions. And, there people are like, I've been an OT for 3 years now, and I still feel like I need more help. I still feel like I want someone who's more experienced than me to help me through these tricky situations. And they give examples, like, I have these really tough parents to deal with, and I have tough administrators, and I have ethical situations that I'm not sure about, and I have sensory processing problems that I'm just can't put my finger on, or reflex integration. How far do I go with it? There's just so much to deal with, and I'm just so glad that I'm seeing more people out there who are actively seeking mentors, and then people like you who are saying that you want to be a mentor. And so I didn't even give you a chance, Robyn, because of course we're always chatting away about everything under the sun. But tell everybody your background. So what made you get interested in mentoring, but also what is your background?
Absolutely. So, no, thank you. So I'm 26 years into being an OT. I've done all 26 years in pediatrics. Unlike you, Jaime, I knew I wanted, excuse me, to work with children all along. So I like dove in, and every internship, every clinical I did, I was like, well, how could I get my hands on a child? And I came out, the other side, graduated, began working as a more like a generalist, worked in a hospital setting, pediatric hospital, and felt like I knew nothing. Despite all the, this is my focus, this is my passion. And it's still my focus and it's still my passion, but felt like I knew nothing. And that was a very overwhelming feeling. I did not have mentorship in the hospital setting, and nor in any of in the public school setting when I worked in the public school setting, or in the private sector either. I had to, like I said, kind of create my own. I too would go home to my textbooks before the World Wide Web. We had a family friend who is an OT and with 25 years more experience than I have, and so I would call her long distance and ask her questions. But other than that, it was just a feeling like, okay, I have all of this knowledge and I did well in my classes. Now what do I do with it all? And so now, fast forward, many years, I've let's say mentored or taken on a lot of fieldwork students, OTR and OTA programs. And every time I do, I fall in love more with teaching and guiding. I have taught also in an OTA program. I've taught all the pediatrics classes. And once again, fallen in love more with the teaching and the guiding. And I find that I'm even more of a nerd, more of an OT nerd when I'm teaching than when I'm practicing. So I do still practice. I have a private practice. And I love it. That's why I said my day was crazy today, but it's a good crazy. But I do have my practice. However, I was kind of nudged by a colleague of mine to really start teaching more. And honestly, Jaime, I put it out there on a whim in the Pediatric OT Facebook group about a month or so ago on a whim, like, who feels that this would even be a thing that they would benefit from? And the response I received was so astounding that I sat there that night reading them and reading them and reading them. And they didn't know me from Adam. They just knew they wanted mentorship from somebody who has experience and who can guide. And at that point, this program was kind of birthed. And so I've been tediously working on it ever since then, putting together my PDFs and my structure. And I can't wait. I truly can't wait. And
That's awesome.
I think what I'm looking forward to the most is the connection and helping therapists to feel heard, helping therapists who are working so hard all day to feel, well, I guess to feel heard and to validate that what they are doing is probably a good thing, you know.
And the word that comes to mind for me is empowered. Because when you feel like, oh my God, I don't know what I'm doing, and then you get to ask a couple of questions and tease it out with someone that you trust who's a more experienced person, and then you're like, wait, so I have been doing the right thing.
Yeah.
You know, and now I know how to do that right thing even better.
Exactly. Exactly.
That's empowering.
And having a small group where we will be learning from one another. I actually joined a mentorship group for myself about a year ago. It was for advanced level therapists, and I was so excited about this. And one day I really spoke up and just in a collaborative way, in a way where I was like, have you thought about it this way? Because I'm wondering about this, not in a demonstrative way, but collaborative. And I got shot down by the leader of the mentorship program as if it was as not wrong, but as if my voice wasn't really that important. Like they just wanted to get their information out. And I was like, when I have my mentorship program, that's not how it's going to be. You might not agree with what I was saying, and that's okay. We're OTs, we're scientists. Again, we're scientists, and we're allowed to have different backgrounds and theories on things. But I want us to come together and talk about it and validate, because probably nothing anybody is doing is wrong. Sometimes there's better ways, sometimes there's different ways. Sometimes it's just shifting our own way of looking at it so that we as the therapist can make the best choice in the moment. But it's not that what anybody is doing is right or wrong. That's not what mentorship, in my opinion, is about.
I agree, in my opinion as well. So let's start to answer some people's questions. So we're planning, it's going to be a 6-week. You
want me to finish?
Yeah, I'm like,
finish the sentence, Robyn. It's going to be a 6-week program. I'm saying an hour a week. I'm gathering we're going to end up meeting for a little longer than an hour. So I've buffered in some time, but I'm calling an hour. In that time, I do have a structure. So there will be a topic for each night. That topic, and you can see that if you have had the opportunity yet to see it on my website, that structure is there, starting with evaluation and getting onto report writing and treatment, etc. However, there's a lot more infused in that, of course.
Right.
So that structure is there with the flow, but I am not going to be lecturing. It's going to be a topic. I would like to start by talking about that topic, of course, giving some evidence-based behind things and some just clinical experience. Then we're going to open it up for dialogue that will be, channeled dialogue that we're going to, it's going to be an organized dialogue. The last 3 weeks of our 6 weeks, we will also in our time present a case study. My hope is that I'll have 3 participants that are wanting to present one, nothing formal, but again, opening up that dialogue for us being able to put our heads together and collaborate on the topic for that week.
And right now, everybody is like, okay, oh, I would talk about Tony. I would ask about John because, you know, I don't know what to do. You know, I think that's a great way. Someone's just asking, do the school districts pay for you to mentor new therapists? I think that would just be through a purchase order. Do you take purchase orders?
Do I take purchase orders? That's a great question. I probably could. Not sure that I ever have been asked that. So would be more than happy to discuss it offline so we could figure it out. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay. And you can also too, like when dealing with the school districts, I know you can send an invoice through QuickBooks or what's the other one?
I use an invoice program. It's real simple.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So
easy to do.
Yeah. And I think that a lot of school districts would love something like that because they want their therapists to be mentored. They just don't have the people to do it. Or, oh, look at this one. Three different admins in 8 years, and each one interprets the rules differently. Oh my goodness, Lisa Fabricius Hadzol, you're speaking my language. In 22 years, I've had like, I think 12 different special ed directors. It's crazy. It's crazy.
Yeah.
I just want to search, was she asking a question? I'm sorry. Why? So all of the special ed teachers and para changes. Well, that's true. The turnover is really hard. It definitely can be stressful. It really can. But at the same time, I know how you were like, oh, I'm falling more in love with teaching and guiding. And I'm like, I kind of fall more in love with OT. The more that I like learn and the more that I have the chances to expand. One of the things that I do like about the administration turnover and all that stuff is that some of them are more willing to try new things and some of them are, you know, more passionate about certain topics than others. And with that, my role changes and I like that. So Maribeth Roback saying, I feel like this sums up my first 10 years of practicing as an OT. You really need to be creative. And back then, all these ideas were not available. Absolutely. And you know, Robyn, you keep saying OTs are scientists. And I'm like, it's true, but I think we're artists.
Oh, it's a balance, right?
Absolutely.
It's
like
the creative side.
Like when I was a little kid, I wanted to be an art teacher badly. I was like, oh, that's totally what I'm going to do.
Right.
Then I woke up and realized I had no talent. And I was like, okay. So no, I like crafts. I like artsy stuff, but I can't like draw anything past Matman. You know what I mean?
You probably can't be an art teacher, my dear.
No. So, okay. Someone's saying I was asked to mentor a new hire, was told by my special ed supervisor she had informed HR that I was a mentor. I heard nothing about my employer's expectations, much less any compensation. What?
Wow. You're just supposed to do it because it's just what you're supposed to do. No.
Right. But teachers, it's built into their union contract and things like that. And as it should be, because it's so important. I mean, it's just, ugh.
I know. We definitely flounder as OTs. Definitely. Absolutely. There was a comment, Jamie, that popped up a minute ago. It came up and then it went away, but about how it's a CODA who just transferred from the skilled nursing into outpatient peds, whose mentor is a physical therapist. And that it just, there we go. No, yes, that's it. And that just broke my heart. That just broke my heart reading it, you know, because it's all different frames of references and it's all different approaches and PTs are people.
I'm just like, wait, hold up. A CODA has to be supervised by an OT, right? Legally. Or you know what? So it could be that the mentor is a PT, but she's supposed to be being supervised by an OT. I would think that person should be the mentor. No,
one would think.
That's odd.
I know.
So let's talk about the dates.
Yes.
And you talked a little bit about the structure. What is the overview going to be? Like, so I know,
overview as far as the dates?
Well, the dates, and then I know week one you wanted to talk about sensory.
Oh, got it, got it, got it. Okay, absolutely, absolutely. So let's talk about week one. Week one starts next week. I have a Monday evening class, so 7:30 p.m. Eastern time, and then I have a Friday. I'm thinking of it as a lunch and learn, noon Eastern time, because a lot of OTs. There are those of us OTs out there that don't have to practice on Friday. I do, but some people have the luxury. So, and so that it will go for 6 weeks starting next week. No classes or programming during Thanksgiving week. So we'll take that week off and then resume the following week. I want to start by talking about the basis of sensory processing. And while, yes, we learn about this as students in school, there is so much more, in my opinion, to know once you're a clinician with whatever pediatric lens you're looking through, school-based, outpatient, home health, hospital-based. I think it doesn't matter. I think we really, really need to know a lot more about sensory. So I want to do my spiel and my overview, and we'll start to scratch the surface of evaluations. And I'll want to hear a lot from you. I have an evaluation shell that I will be sharing with the members, the mentees, and you are welcome to take it and utilize it however works for you in your scope of practice. And so we'll scratch the surface on the first night. The second night, I want to dig deeper into clinical observations. I find that was when I was a newer therapist, when I was really taught how to complete clinical observations, whether we're using something standardized like dissociate, whether we're using our own way of observing the basis and the underlying areas of sensory processing, but also sensory motor, which includes reflexes, ocular motor, etc. Then we can build on our our evaluation test scores. That's the word I couldn't come up with. We've got these test scores, but when we can add in what I would call subtleties, which are not really that subtle, of the clinical observations, that's how we can build our clinical picture. So that's our first 2 weeks. After that, I want to talk about parents. So Jaime, you brought that up at the beginning.
Yeah.
I definitely want to talk about how we convey this information to parents or teachers for that matter, how we get this point across, so that we can continue to gather information about this child. I happen to be in private practice. I have lots of families with lots of different backgrounds and dynamics. The family where the parent can be totally focused on that child and complete everything all day long, all week long, that's lovely. But then there's the family that loves their child just as much as the first family I referred to, who may have 3 other children and 2 other part-time jobs. And so having that dive into what's happening, so that when we build our programming for our child, we're building it with that in mind. So I do thread family systems throughout, so that it's not just a child-centered approach, it's a family-centered approach. In week 4, in week 3, I want to talk also about the differences between the bottom-up approach and the top-down approach, which I know, Jaime, you talk about as well. And the value of both, and when to be diving into which, because that is not an exact science. That's a lot of us using our clinical observation and our clinical eye to try to start figuring that out.
I agree with that.
Right?
It's my pet peeve when certain things like textbooks are like, it's this way, it has to be this way, and I'm like, yeah, but that's not real life.
No, it's
so
not.
I don't want to interrupt because I want to hear about the rest, but people are asking, are the sessions going to be posted for sign up? So it's if you sign up, you're getting all 6 weeks. It's not like you come to the first one and you come to the second one. You come to all 6.
Right.
What happens if somebody misses one? Are they going to be recorded?
They will definitely be recorded. That's not a problem, and they will be emailed out per after the classes are over. Absolutely. Okay. Because so that way you may want to watch it again. Yeah. Right. So absolutely. Yep.
Okay. And they have access like forever, as long as they just like save it on their Google Drive or whatever.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. And the other thing that I know are going to excite people is that, and you're having a Facebook group, right?
Yes.
So people will have access to ask you those other questions, or those like fly by the night questions, like, this happened today, what do I do?
Right. And the Facebook group will be a closed group. It'll be for everybody that's signed up for this fall. So whether you're on in Monday, whether you're in Friday, we're all going to be together, but nobody else is going to be joining it. And it's a forever group. It's not going to go away. And it's for all of us, right? I'm can't wait to see the questions and the responses. But remember, I may have a lot of experience or what have you, but that doesn't mean I have all of the answers. So I want, all of us to be jumping in, kind of like the pediatric OT group that many of us are in, or, other groups that we're in, but this one is going to be small. So we're going to start to get to know each other. It's going to feel a little bit less daunting, if you will.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. And so the cost is a one-time fee of $325.
Correct.
Right. And there is a payment option for people if they want.
Exactly. Which would be half right now, and then the other half in 1 month. So absolutely. Yep. Absolutely. Weeks 4, 5, and 6, we're going to be diving into case studies, like I said earlier. But we're also going to be, again, looking at priority needs. How do we figure out the child's priority needs? That's a tough one too, because OTs are supposed to be jacks of all trades. Well, that's
we are.
Well, we are, but that doesn't mean we can work on everything all at once. So how do we decide? How do we figure that out? And based on our first few weeks of working together, we're going to be building towards priority needs. And really, that's it. Home programming is going to be infused towards the end as well. Once we've really talked about that family systems approach, how do we work on getting some exercises or activities going at home? What should they be? And again, based on the family's needs, not just based on the child's needs, or not just based on what we see on paper.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right. That's very awesome. Okay. So someone else is saying, are there any CEUs associated with the 6 weeks?
I do not offer CEUs. There will be a certificate at the end. So for self-reporting.
Okay.
Yes, but at this time, no.
Okay, so I think that mentoring is one of the qualifiers under NBCOT. I do not know it off the top of my head, but
I do agree with you. Yeah. And so this it is qualified under NBCOT. However, this class in particular, I have not gone down that route yet,
because it's not an approved provider course. It's
Correct.
a mentorship, and that it qualifies for self-study. So you have to do the extra little bit of work, but it should, be definitely included.
Absolutely.
Any other questions that we have? Let's see. Did we talk about, okay, so the person who was taught that they are a CODA and they're being supervised by a TT. So the PT is sensory certified. So you're sensory certified also, right?
I not SIP certified. I've studied sensory though for 26 of my 26 years. Yeah.
And you have certification in therapeutic listening?
Therapeutic listening, NeuroNet, which I'm not sure that we'll talk about, handwriting without tears, of course, learning without tears. I'm sorry, I'm old. Therapeutic listening 1 and 2. Oh, lots of others. I'm sorry. I should have been more prepared to list those out.
No, but listen, please, if anyone asked me to list all the courses I've taken, forget it. So that she's saying that she's currently being supervised by 2 adult-based OTs who want nothing to do with kids. Oh, that's awful. I'm sorry. I'm upset that it says Facebook user. So whoever that is, Facebook user.
Yeah.
Next time you come on one of my lives, you got to go to facebook.com/StreamYard. And this way you can just type in your name and then we can be like, Lisa, that's awful. Even though it's not Lisa,
Could be.
I like to know everybody's name,
Absolutely. What other questions do you have?
Those are the only questions that I'm seeing in the comments. I know we kind of coordinated this last minute, but we covered most of the questions that were coming in through my email. My customer service was flooded. Like my team was like, Jaime, oh my God. And I'm like, put them all in a document. I'll look them over because I'm at school. I can't, but a lot of the questions were asking, like, are there CEUs? What does it entail? Can my school pay for it? Absolutely. Your school can pay for it if they're willing to pay for it. Sometimes you have to, provide the website and things like that. So the link to check out the program and to show it to your school if you need to is missjamiot.com/mentor. So before this live, I made a beautiful banner to show it to you guys. And then my phone died. Everything went wrong. And at like 7:58, I had to hop on and do it a random way. So I don't have the banner, but it's MissJamieOT.com, JAIMEOT.com/mentor. And the link is also in these Facebook groups. I posted it just right before we went on. So how do you handle parents who insist that you do medical-based OT intervention versus your role as a school-based OT? That is a great question. So I'll take it if you don't mind.
Sure, no, absolutely. I had some thoughts, but you'll know better.
Yeah. So AOTA actually has a handout specific about this that you can print out, like what is school OT about. I have personally used that. It wasn't someone who was insisting that I'm doing medically based OT, but the mom was like, she wanted me to work on handwriting. And the little girl had multiple disabilities, and she was so motorically impaired and weak, and her like just the foundational skills of coordinating her left and right sides and her upper body strength were so weak. And the mom would get like really mad when I would write like, oh, we worked on upper body strengthening, we were on the mat, and she's just like, just do handwriting. And I'm like, no, I won't, like, and I'm sorry, but that's not what that child needs. Like, that's not ethical. Like, and I tried to explain it, like, and I was like, these are the foundational skills. And I am still working on her motor skills. I'm working on her tracing and things like that. But if she doesn't get this, she's never getting that. And the mom, just like at a CSE, actually said, well, I want the goals to be handwriting. And I was like, well, handwriting can be the end result, but we've got to also work on, her trunk. She can't even like rotate her trunk. And the mom was like, OT is handwriting. And I was like, oh, no, you didn't. I just was like, no, OT is much more than that. And I happen to have this handout from the American Occupational Therapy Association that explains it. And I was very glad to like do that, because the woman didn't want to hear anything. You know what I mean? But here it is from the professional association, from the national association. Like, school-based OTs have to work on school-based skills. It has to be interfering with their academic as per IDEA. So that's how I handle it. Sorry, I totally jumped in there. What do you think, Robyn?
Absolutely fine. No, that's absolutely fine. I also wonder if that's a little bit, not the AOTA part, but with the question, if it's a little bit different state to state. I know in Florida, what school-based OTs are and are not allowed to even address, but I do think that's different across states. The other thing that I also think might be different, so I might be just speaking to based on Florida, is I would want to say to that parent that we could do a combination where I as the school-based OT am happy to work on the school-based, here's your AOTA handout, goals. And if you want to seek out medical-based clinical OT, you are welcome to do that. But I know in some states we're not even allowed to say that. So I don't want to speak for that. But, and the school-based, I mean, me as a clinical person, I will collaborate with school-based OTs. I want to know what they're doing so that either A, I'm not doing the same thing and teaching the kids slightly differently, because that's not fair to that child. Mm-hmm. And B, so that if maybe I'll work on some of the foundational things while you come here, or maybe it's the opposite. So again, that collaboration, should they seek out that other clinician, right, is also an opportunity.
Yeah. That's awesome. Mm-hmm. So our Facebook user said her name is Shelby, and she's so excited for the opportunity, and she's pretty sure she was one of the first people to sign up. So that's awesome.
Yes. Shelby, I will double check my list, and I'm so excited though that I get to meet you. Awesome.
Okay, guys, so we are going to wind down. It's been about 40 minutes. I swore we were only going to do 20.
You said 20.
This is our problem, Robyn. We just can't stop talking.
I think the first time we spoke a few years ago, I think our first conversation was like 45 minutes. And I was like, wait, I want more. Yeah.
So absolutely. I have a brainstorm, and you say what you think, but we both are planning to go to AOTA Orlando. Right?
Yes.
And I feel like we should have a meetup. Let's have like a PEDS OT meetup, and everybody who wants to meet up, we'll all meet somewhere and get to meet in person. Wouldn't that be so fun?
Yes, absolutely.
Like
Absolutely.
I always go to my college one so I can like see my old professors and meet new students or whatever. And it's always like such a good time. But I would love to do like a happy hour or something. And whoever wants to come meet us here at this time, how fun would that be?
I think that would be great.
What do you guys think? Those of you who are watching, you guys want, if you're coming to AOTA, will you meet us? And if you're not coming to AOTA, come to AOTA.
Absolutely. It's in my hometown. It's in Orlando.
Once you start going to AOTA, you're addicted.
Mhm.
I haven't. My first one was in Nashville. Loved it with all of my might, and I completely was hooked. And I have not. I missed only one, and that was last year because of the cancer. But other than that, I have not missed it. I love
Wow.
it. It's so like you can just learn and network and meet so many awesome OTs, and I love OTs.
Me too.
Yeah, I just
Yes.
do.
I get so energized. That's why I can't wait for this. I
I know.
know I'm gonna get so energized afterwards. I'm gonna learn just as much. It's so exciting.
Yeah, it is exciting. All right. Well,
Thank
so
you.
listen, guys, the link is missjamieot.com/mentor. Go there and you can sign up. I forgot to even mention the bonus. So I offered a bonus because I'm so excited about this program and I want people to do it. Anyone who signs up through my link, you will automatically get, well, not automatically. I'm going to get a list from Robyn and I'm going to send you a personalized coupon code that you can get 50% off any and all of my 3 AOTA approved courses. So I have the handwriting course, I have an LinkedIn and resume, like professional branding course, and always I have Vision 101, which is a really popular, very well received course on vision in the school-based setting. So if anybody's interested, just so you know, that is a little bonus that you will get included with signing up for Robyn's mentorship. So
Yay.
if you guys have more questions, feel free to email me or Robyn. And I hope that everybody has their questions answered because I know a lot of people are really excited about it.
Me too. Absolutely. Absolutely. Yes. Do not hesitate to reach out.
Okay.
Thank you.
All
Thank
right. Have a good
you.
night, everybody.
Good night.